Hi, my name is Achsannah, and this is my story. From a very young age, I've always grown up in the environment of, going to church, Bible stories, church functions. I've always been surrounded by this environment. But for a long time, I think it felt more just like a once-a-week practice than anything personal. I went through the motions because that's what my parents did, and that's what my siblings did, but it was never really anything personal. From a very young age, I was being bullied by a group of kids at my school. They would tell me day after day how I was worthless and useless and ugly, and nothing I could ever do would be enough. I didn't know at the time, I didn't know who I was, so I believed them, and I took everything that they said, and I took it straight to heart. Because after all, I'm a sinful human being, and I don't deserve to be alive. The least I could do would be to suck it up and get over myself. Or that's at least what I would tell myself. It was really tough because, at that time, everyone's trying to, figure out who they are, and I didn't know who I was, and my identity was just 100% dependent on what other people thought of me. When I was 8 years old, I decided to get baptized. At the time, my idea of baptism was you get in the water and all your problems are instantly washed away and the rest of your life will be perfect and glamorous. Well, I don't think I have to say that obviously isn't how it went. Kids were still mean and I was still me. So eventually, when my parents realized what was going on and pulled me out of that school, I had such a deep-rooted thinking pattern on how I thought about myself, it felt impossible to break. I didn't know how. And if God was so good, then why didn't he just fix me? Fast forward to grade 7, I attended Change Conference 2023 and gave my life to Christ for the first time. For the first time in my life, I felt peace, and I just felt like, okay, it's all gonna be okay. God's got this. After that weekend, I went back to school, and my life, again, it wasn't perfect. I was still depressed. I was still having panic attacks every day, and I was still me. If God was so good, then why wouldn't he just fix me and just make everything okay? I began to doubt God a lot, I think. And a nonstop cycle just of this over and over again, it eventually led to depression and chronic anxiety. I remember I got to a place where I was in such a dark place where I remember crying myself to sleep every night, begging that God would take my life in my sleep. It was too hard. It's too hard to live through each day, that would just leave me feeling broken again. And it would just be so much easier, to just die in my sleep and wake up in heaven, and I wouldn't have to do it again and again and again. Well, fast forward to the last day of school this past school year. We were at my previous youth group, and we were surrounded by a cozy little campfire at my youth leader's backyard, and we were just worshiping together. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just started weeping, just crying. I was unsure why I was crying, so I decided to lean into that, and I was just like, God, where are you going with this? Like, what are you trying to tell me? What's here? And that's when I immediately felt all this weight that I had been carrying for so long just fall away. I heard God tell me in that moment that this seemingly unbearable season that I had been stuck in for more than 5 years was over. He told me, this is no longer your battle, this is my battle. Also in that moment, I felt all my friends surround me and kind of huddle me, and they all just hugged me. And it was just this really unreal feeling, I just felt this overwhelming peace, and I also had the physical feeling of my friends literally having my back. It was really unreal. God could have so easily given in and given me what I consistently prayed for. But instead of letting me die, he gave me life. He met me where I was at, and, he stepped into my pain and healed me and relieved me and delivered me from what I was going through. I don't know what you're going through. I don't know how deep your pain is or what your circumstances look like. But I do know that if you feel like there's no hope left for you, or that you're done, or your story isn't going to last much longer, that God is just around the corner with a breakthrough. I'm living proof. And all glory to God. I know I can stand here and say that you can trust him too. Because he remained faithful then, and I promise you, he will stay faithful now.